Hi everyone, this is a brief audio recording of how to have a good or a great theory paper. So the first thing it says to do in the directions is to put the headings in. All of the headings are bolded. The ones in the center are called first level headings in APA, and the ones to the left are called second level headings for APA. So put all your headings in, and this helps you address everything you're supposed to. And it also helps you to be able to write the paper in any order you want. Remember, the paper does not need to be written from beginning to end. You can write in any order you want. So you could write about the theory and model first, and then go back and do the introduction. So the introduction is going to summarize the problem at a national level. And this should come from your needs assessment paper. And if you did it correctly, it could be in your community analysis paper. You are describing the condition or disease that you are covering at the national level with national data. You must have data. You will then identify the risk factors. The very last sentence should be the risk factors in this program are, and you list the risk factors. The next part of the paper is a level 2 heading. This is where you discuss your risk factors at a national level. Each risk factor that you have will have 1 to 2 paragraphs. So while it says 2 to 4 paragraphs here, the number of risk factors you have dictates the number of paragraphs. If you have a large risk factor like socioeconomic status, economic might be 1 paragraph, education might be a different paragraph. If you have access to care, there could be 5 different things in access to care. Each one of those smaller items could have its own paragraph. So each risk factor, if they're small, has its own paragraph, but if you have a larger risk factor with several elements, each element might have a paragraph. You are discussing the risk factors using national data. You must have data to show that the risk factors for your population are greater than for other populations. Again, this should have been in the needs assessment paper, and if your community analysis was done correctly, it was in the community analysis paper. The second part of your paper is the community analysis part, and here this is going to have 2 items, actually has 3 items in this section, and this section is 2 to 3 paragraphs. First, you describe your community's geography. What does it look like here? Parks, recreation. Look at the community analysis lesson to see the kind of things that you might discuss when you're describing the geography of your community. The second thing you do is you describe the people. This could be by race, age, education level, sex, ethnicity, that you're describing what the people are like in your community. Next, you describe the health condition. This is the third thing you do in this section. Describe the health condition in the community using data. So if you were doing eating disorders or weight disorders, you would talk about weight disorders in your community, and you would have data about weight disorders in your community and your population compared to other data to show this is a bigger issue in your community. At the end of this section, you restate the risk factors that are in the program, and this section is 2 to 3 paragraphs long. After you introduce the community to the reader, you then are going to discuss the risk factors in the exact order you just listed them in the section before. You're going to discuss each risk factor with primary and secondary data. So if socioeconomic status is one of your risk factors, you're going to discuss that data of your community compared to another group to show that your community has greater need. You'll discuss one risk factor with secondary data, and then you will describe how you're gathering primary data. The more secondary data that you have for a risk factor, the less primary data you will need. The third section of the paper is the theory model section. This is where you're going to introduce one model and clearly explain how it relates to the issue. In the sample that's provided to you, there's a paragraph that introduces the concept, and then there is a chart. You could do it like that, a paragraph introducing your theory or model, and then put a chart in that shows application, or you could just do complete narrative, but do not do both. Do not put a chart in and then explain the chart. Either a chart or narrative. The fourth section of the paper is a program description, and this is what you have as the program in your mind right now. It is not going to be as thorough as the next paper that you write, but you need to start to explain what the program looks like. If you have something, which you did in your theory rationale paper, some type of evidence, you would cite that as well. The best way to do this is to do it by goal. So the first paragraph could say, this program has two goals. The first goal is whatever, and the program addresses this goal through the following and describe what's going to happen. Then you would say the second goal of this program is, and you would then describe what activities in your program address that goal. If you do it like this, you're much more likely to address everything. When you just start writing a narrative and it's all blended together, it's much more likely that you'll miss something. So please describe your program by goals. One thing that can help you with that is this next section of the paper is your planning chart. Remember, it must be landscape, but your planning chart, everyone in the class has two goals, so everyone will have two charts. What you're describing in your program, I should then see in this planning chart. You have to fill out the goal, the community goal, the objectives. Those are required. Then, if you want to get feedback, you can put some evaluations in there. The center column is blank. And then the last part of your paper is a summary. You're going to summarize the issue at the national level with one or two sentences about your community. And that should look very similar to the beginning of your paper. It should have data. Hopefully being able to go back and listen to this as you're writing will be helpful. If you have questions, please reach out.